May 17, 2022, the United States Department of Justice filed a civil enforcement action to compel casino magnate Stephen Wynn, the former Republican National Committee finance chair, to register as the agent of the Chinese government and a senior official of China's Ministry of Public Security. In 2017, Wynn hand-delivered a letter to President Trump on behalf of the Chinese Communist Party leader to seek the deportation of Miles. Furthermore, according to the Attorney General's written complaint, Wynn had at least 8 telephone conversations with Sun Lijun, the former Vice Minister of Public Security of China. Each conversation lasted 30 minutes on average. So what did Wynn get in return? Well, a text message found in the written complaint will shed light. At this point, as a private citizen, I believe I have exhausted the advantages of my position. If there is any other aspect of this situation may occur to you going forward, I would of course be anxious to help. I remain grateful for the privilege of being part of the Macau and PRC business community. A bit of context here. In 2016, the CCP restricted the number of gaming tables and machines that Wynn's casino could operate. The renegotiation of Wynn's casino licenses to operate in Macau was scheduled for 2019. You probably understand why he felt grateful and referred the opportunity to do business in Communist China as a privilege now. Back to Miles' Chapter 11 case at the Connecticut Bankruptcy Court. On July 21, 2022, Judge Manning thought that Luke Despens, the second Chapter 11 trustee appointed by the United States trustee, was a disinterested person, despite the fact that his law firm, Paul Hastings, of which Luke Despens is an equity partner, has an active and significant presence in China. The 3 casinos in Macau brought Wynn lucrative returns, and so did the 3 offices of Paul Hastings in China bring its partners. Both entities are a privilege granted by the CCP, and both individuals are subject to sanctions from the CCP. On July 7, 2020, FBI Director Christopher Wray delivered a speech at Hudson Institute on China's influence in the U.S. More specifically, the highly sophisticated malign foreign influence campaigns orchestrated by the CCP that use methods including bribery, blackmail, and covert deals.
Chinese diplomats also use both open, naked economic pressure and seemingly independent middlemen to push China's preferences on American officials.
Mr. Wray further explained this middleman tactic.
China will work relentlessly to identify the people closest to that official, the people that official trusts the most. China will then work to influence those people to act on China's behalf as middlemen to influence the official. These intermediaries, of course, aren't telling the American official they're Chinese Communist Party pawns.
This FBI director closed his speech with a warning to Americans that Communist China has a fundamentally different system, which many Americans have misunderstood for decades. There is a distinction between the government and the presiding political party, between civilian and military sectors, and between the state and the private sector in the West. But these distinctions that Americans take for granted are almost non-existent in Communist China. The CCP will use an all-tools and all-sectors approach to carry out its diverse campaign of theft and malign influence. Ray's views coincide with those expressed by retired General Robert Spalding in his new book, War Without Rules, which aims to explain the military book titled Unrestricted Warfare, authored by 2 CCP colonels in 1999. General Spalding bluntly states that the CCP is doing everything in its power to destroy the American way of life, and the only rule in CCP's unrestricted war is there are no rules. Are there CCP's middlemen in the American judicial system? In the next episode, we will answer this question and share more about Miles' legal battle against PACs in American courts. To the legal battle of the century. I'm your host, Rachel, and today again in the live stream room is my partner, KK, who has helped me supporting the OBS. So making sure that you can see me and you can see the slides that we're going to share in this program. So this is our episode 9. In last episode, we spent a lot of time talking about some corruptions and deceptions. And in this episode, we will continue on that topic. And also last episode, we didn't finish actually, we ended halfway through the the prejudgment attachment that PAX was seeking in 2018, and we were on number 2, which is the doc number 123. And today we're going to show you the end results, which is the judge order upon hearing both sides of arguments and what the judge thought about the pre-attachment number 2, prejudgment attachment number 2. And today we're going to continue with the story that we didn't get a chance to finish about Wu Zhen. So I wanted KK to show you the first slides because we're going to drill it down today hard the deception. So on the deception and collusion, that's the slides that I want everybody to see. And it's, I should capitalize all 3 words, all the letters. Maybe I change it next time. So it's deception, collusion, and corruption. So throughout this legal battles, 5 years and up until now, because I have to apologize. The show is supposed to be yesterday, but yesterday we had a hearing. It's a live hearing at the Bridgeport, Connecticut bankruptcy court that continuing with the Judge Manning on the 11 chapter bankruptcy Miles Schools case. So that's why I couldn't do this show yesterday. So I decided to move it to today at 1 o'clock. So, but if we don't have any hearing, I will adhere to the Tuesday promise. Then the show will be on Tuesday and Friday. But anyway, back to the deception and collusion and corruption. So what I'm trying to say is, if you follow us, you will see how the CCP is using those intermediaries, as the intro video has mentioned, to actually deceive Americans, deceive the world. And in order to do that, they have to collude with those people within America, within other countries, to basically form alliances and sell out their own citizens in their own countries, and to help the CCP and help themselves to get more money, more power, more women, whatever that they desire. So as a result of that, there is a corruption for sure at the end of the day. So we're going to flip down to the next slide, which I will show you the tie between all those people. So in last pre-judgment attachment, number 2, we talked about how PAX almost exclusively uses one person's affirmations. That means one person's, sworn affidavit. And that person is called Nathaniel Francis, which is the gentleman with a bald head and, on the top right. That's him. He doesn't look very old. He's pretty. I think he probably, I would say, the oldest probably mid-40 or even late 30. But anyway, who cares? All I care is about why, why he spent so much time on citing and quoting verbatim, using the CCP's propaganda, which we all know they're lies. They're lies and designed, hit pieces to frame, to set up, to smear Miles Schools' reputation. He cited a lot of the court cases, which one of the very famous one we went through in the previous 2 episodes is the case that they trialed 3 Miles associates, worked in Pangu Investment Company, one of the Miles' companies, and saying that the 3 employees of Pangu Investment has committed fraud. And one of the employees, Liu Tao, who is the manager, Liu Tao admitted that he committed this fraud because Miles forced her to do so. So all of this, we know that they're made up. And even in the trial of the 3 employees, something really extraordinary happened, because out of nowhere that the CCP courthouse suddenly so cordial, so friendly with a foreign press. That's never heard of. They actually invite a reporter into the courtroom to report what's going on in that trial. And we also showed you in last episode that's never happened. On the contrary, they would hide everything, just like the 2 Michaels trial that we shared with you, and we played a little bit clip from the CNN and telling you how unlikely it is to get the transparency and get open proceedings, broadcast to public. That's no in China. But in particularly Miles' case, they want to air everywhere. They wanted the world to know why. It's very obvious. This is someone's goal. Ultimate goal is to disseminate those information and making sure everybody knows about it. So, and excuse me, sorry. I don't know why I'm talking. When I start talking and my voice start starts giving away. Just having a sip of water, so that would help. Okay, so that's where Nathaniel picked up all the CCP propaganda regarding what the crimes that the Miles has done and citing it in his affidavit. And don't forget, that's affidavit that he's citing it. Of course, he doesn't take responsibility because he said, I'm only an investigator. I only tell you what I find on internet. And guess what? 2017, the internet is full of those one-sided information about Miles Guo. Why? And we also told you in our previous episode that the U.S.-China Economic and Security Commission submitted a report to Congress in 2017, detailed all those international media campaign covertly orchestrated by the CCP against Miles. Okay, so we already present the facts and reports, and matter of fact, you can go online and you can read yourself. So today, back to the Richard Frankel. So there's no coincidence. There's no conspiracy theory. There's no coincidence. There's only collusion and corruption that we don't see. So here, Richard Frankel, who retired as a former FBI special agent in charge in 2016, he then, after that, he went to Satan Law Group. Okay, that's where he met Nathaniel. I don't know whether they've known each other prior to Mr. Frankel joining Satan Law Group, or they actually met in the Satan Law Group, because as I mentioned last episode, Nathaniel Francis works for the CGI, who is a spin-off organization by Satan Law Group, because the partners of the Satan Law Group is also our chief investigator of the CGI. Basically, CGI stands for Confidential Global Investigations. And we have a lot of story about CGI. Later on, when we talk about the forged tampering evidence, CGI comes again. And we will show you the hard-proved evidence and how they did it. But in this show, I wanted to clean up the relationship so you can see the tie between all those cronies and liars and how they actually collude together, okay, to paint a picture out of nowhere. So when we talk about Frankel, it's very important to know Frankel has a very good business partner. Good, not so good actually, very evil business partner, Bruno Wu Zhen. And today we're going to spend lots of time in Wu Zhen. So last episode we told you that Shan Weijian, which is the president and CEO of the PEG, the parent company of the plaintiff in Miles Guo's case, PAX. Okay, so we use PAX and PAG interchangeably. So PAX is PAG, PAG is PAX. Okay, so just get that image in your mind. So Shan Weijian is the CEO, and he invested quite a bit of money to Bruno Wu, because we also know, although the public persona of Bruno Wu is a businessman, executives or chairman or independent executive director, he has quite a long title. He has a lot of those companies that do nothing, which we will actually went through in today's show for you, and you can see for yourself. So Bruno Wu, of course, with an image of a successful businessman, but within inside, he's not. He devote all his time in being a spy master. Finding the intermediaries and finding ways to corrupt them, finding those Americans, British, whoever can willing to work with him and work for him and work with him, to achieve the CCP master's goals. By the way, if you missed our previous episodes, you should catch them up. But in a just quick way of summarize it, these two gentlemen on the left bottom, Bruno Wu and Shan Weijian, are registered CCP spy. And interestingly, Bruno Wu is also American citizen. And he registered in the United States in the Department of DOJ as a foreign agent lobbying for Chinese Communist Party in 2018, December 3rd. Okay, in last show we showed you his registration. So if you want to see for your eye for proof, you can go back to the last episode. So the older gentleman called Wang Qishan, I'm not gonna deliberate because we already talked about, he was the secretary of the Central Committee for Discipline Inspection, but he is still the vice president of People's Republic of China. but he's a kleptocrat. One of the kleptocrats that put a bounty head on Miles Guo's life, and they want him dead or alive, and if he's still alive, they want their lives be miserable, and this is all why they're coming after him. So anyway, so these are the collusion between all those four people. So I'm gonna drill down a little bit for you for Bruno Wu, because a lot of you heard about Bruno Wu, and you might even invest in one of the companies that owned or managed by Bruno Wu. And if that's the case, well, I don't know what to say, but yeah, you need to do something right away. But anyway, oh yeah, I actually have it. So the next slide, I forgot, slide 4, I have the registration, the spy, excuse me, so Bruno Wu's registration with DOJ is right on the screen, and his registration number is 6611. So it's quite interesting. So in the last show, I'm quickly just to run a few slides that we showed you in the last episode, but I'm not going to spend time on them, and you can watch the last show if you wanted to. So the next slides talk about the 2017, March 8th. So this is actually the second whistleblowing interview Miles did with the Mirror Media Group. And in that video, that was like more than 5 years ago, Miles played an audio recording of him and Bruno. And that recording was happening, that conversation was happening in 2015. I'm not sure which month, but I think it's probably early 2015, maybe January or February, and in which Wu reviewed his true identity and delivered a death threat. You hear right, death threat to Miles on behalf of the kleptocrat Wang. And the next slide, there is a script of what the threat is about, and a little bit background information, like what he said prior to the threat, or what he said after the threat. And I did the translation in the last show, so I'm not going to do it again. But here, the way he delivered death threat, he's saying that you will die without a burial place. Okay, so in China, that's considered really, really miserable. If somebody died, they at least deserve a burial place. But he's saying that you would die without a burial place. That means you would die really, 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 really bad. So anyway, and in that video, he disclosed that he's talking to Miles on behalf of the CCP. They all use the nations. They all doing things using the country's name. Oh, I'm doing for the country. I'm doing for the nation. But they are not, because everything they done is for their personal benefits. The particular request that he delivered in that video is ask Miles to collect some dirt on one person, and that person is a political enemy or could be any other enemies, of his master, of his kleptocrat's master. So they use country's name to do their own thing. Okay, so anyway, let's continue on, drill down on Bruno Wu. So Bruno Wu is absolutely a liar. Okay, so I'm just going to make that crystal clear in today's show. So Ideanomics. Not sure you ever heard of that company, but that company pretty much, they do pretty good PR, and the communications department is pretty creative because they have to create something out of nothing. So this is the June 18th, 2018 ad, on the website. You can still go, they archived it, you can still find it. So I'm just going to read the headline. The headline saying, Seven Stars Cloud announces Richard Franco and Manuel Ram to overseas digital advisory service subsidiaries, Red Rock Global Capital Limited. Okay, so that is a headline. And we also know Seven Star Cloud Group, or Seven Star Group, is one of those companies that's owned by Wu Zhen, owned by Bruno Wu. Okay, so, and then he pointed his best buddy, in this case is Richard Franco, to be the what is it? Hiring Richard Franco, CEO, yeah. Franco will be the chairman and CEO, and the other guy will be, Mr. Ron will be the chief operating officer. So of course, the Richard Franco gets the cream.
on the top of the pie. So anyway, Richard Franco, there's the pictures that I showed you on the right top, where the very first one on the top is a number of people. There's 6 of them, holding hands and holding some kind of a memorandum of understanding. Oops, somebody has just got scammed. But anyway, they're holding hands, and that was an event in Singapore. It happened in 2019. It's called GT Future Forum. It's a forum that world leader. Oh, I have the website. I'm just gonna read it for you because you can hear for yourself. Let me see. Let me find the. Oh, here. This is really awesome, if you just look at it. It say the forum was co-hosted by Singapore GT Group, Nasdaq-listed company Ideanomics Inc., China Merchants Energy Shipping Singapore, Asia Pacific Commercial Bank, Singapore-listed company Nature's Farm, and Cambodia company BQuan Technology Con. Thailand-listed insurance company TSI Insurance, and a number of innovative fintech companies. Wow, that's truly, international focused. They have Thailand and Cambodia, although it's more Southeast Asia, but it's all there. And then it says key opinion leaders. That's a very interesting one. Key opinion leaders in fintech has attended this event and given their insights on the topic, which includes Ideanomics Inc., Chairman, Dr. Bruno Wu. Okay, they calling him Dr. Bruno Wu. I don't know where the doctor, where that credential comes from. But anyway, Asia Pacific Commercial Bank CEO Mr. Zheng Qishen, blah, 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 blah. These are the top opinion leader in fintech. Okay, so that's the event. That's a picture was taken. And Richard Franco was attending one of the seminars organized, by that organized. Remember that I mentioned this event is co-hosted by Ideanomics. Okay, so, very nice PR. And the Red Rock Global Capital is also an investment fund. Okay, so Richard Franco, being the best buddy of Wu Zhen, just landed a very nice title. I'm sure, it comes with probably 6-7 figures. I don't know. But anyway, let's take a look at the next slides. This is where the scary part comes in. The next slide is Ideanomics economic performance. So you were thinking that, a fintech, a global leader, have a, worldwide network of distribution, has connections, and, you would think that the company should perform well, right? But it's actually contrary. The company perform really, really poor. It's actually extremely poor, I would say. When it first get listed on NASDAQ, the highest price is $337 US dollars, but that's short-lived. Only like less than a year. The price only less than the first year. The next year, 2008, the share price slumped to only $3.75 US dollars. That's amazing. I'm not sure what they did, and maybe they blame the economic, the tsunami of the financial crisis that the company is, failed because of that. They can say that, but as you can see, from 2008 to 2022, 14 years of span, the line is pretty flat. I mean, the price, that the stock performance is, oscillating between $3, $2, and $1, and now it's like it's almost worthless, basically. So, but he is still talking, and he's still telling everybody, I'm very successful. You should, he's still trying to connect with people and selling off his ideas and say, trust me. I have a lot of money behind me. Partially that's true because that's money, is Chinese people's money, but the kleptocrats use them as a bribery, as a way to corrupt the whole world and to do the things that for them personally, to land their personal gain. So, but if you trusted, if as a U.S. investor or as a worldly investor, global investor, if you trusted him, I bet. I'm pretty sure you lose money because you're not one of the insider. Unless you become Richard Franco, maybe you can save your retirement. You can save your retirement earnings. But anyway, so this is Ideanomics performance. And if you go on Yahoo Finance, like it's a free website, if you go on there and just type in Ideanomics, you can see for their financials. And on the Yahoo website, it listed 3 years consecutive financials, their balance sheets, their cash flow. Like if you want to read it, really, you don't need much time to dig into it. You just search it and it's pretty explanatory. 3 years from 2018, 2019, 2020 up to now, they're all negative numbers. From earnings, net earnings to cash flows, every single financial statements you know of, they are negative numbers. The company never made money. So you figure why, a lot of buzzword about them. So, and I want to go to slide number 9. And this is happening, another news. What I just shared with you, remember the news was June 18th, 2018. They appoint the Richard Franco, as the CEO, blah, blah, blah. But this news is 2020, December 28th. Okay, so Ideanomics Executive Chairman Bruno Wu steps down. Okay, that's a pretty big, usually, a leader of organization like that size and public company listed in NASDAQ and changing heads, it's a big news. But if you look into it, why? They don't put things together for you, and I dig this out, and I pretty much believe that this is why. Okay, so this news announced on December 28th, 2020. However, there's a report which I put it right besides the news right here. And this report, the published date is 2020, July 22. Okay, so about 5 months prior to this news that he, stepped down. So what does this report say? I'm going to read a little bit. So first of all, the report on the right-hand side, the title is, they find fraud 3 times. Important things you always repeat 3 times, right? So fraud. And the company that they're calling out is no other but Ideanomics. Okay? So, and I put our QR code there. So if you wanted to see it yourself, feel free. You can just scan the QR code and you can find the report. You can read it. So, but I am here is going to read a little bit for you, just get you a little bit flavor. And meantime, KK is going to play a PR video, very nicely made, high quality, high definition PR video about Ideanomics and what they do and how they pledge to change, to preserve the earth by introducing, environmental friendly solutions to the global. Okay, so let's watch that PR and listen to my read of the report and see how ironic this is. But this is a time that we live in. Okay, so a small group of short sellers, spurned investors, a former journalist, and an ex-persecutors are intent to revealing large-scale fraud in China. Okay, and this is reported by Michael Rappaport, July 22nd, 2020. You can accuse Ideanomics of failing to think big. The electric vehicle and fintech company boasts on its website of empowering a new economy and forging the new paradigm on how emerging technology companies grow and how industries embrace innovation. Its slogan, digitizing tomorrow. By the way, the slogan has already changed. This was in 2018. Their slogan was digitizing tomorrow. And then I'm going to continue read the report. It'd be a heck of a thing if they got tripped up by Photoshop. Okay, here's the fraud. Ideanomics, which is headquartered in New York, but has much of its operations in China, has touted a big, recently opened sales center for electrical vehicles in Qingdao, in China's Shandong province. But in June, short sellers betting against the company alleged the sales center did not actually belong to Ideanomics. Here's more story to it. The company had issued a photo of the center, but shortly thereafter, short seller Heidenberger Research unearthed a 2018 Chinese news photo that looked strikingly similar to Ideanomics' photo. The only difference was that the MEG logo of the company's Mobile Energy Global Electric Vehicle operation was on a banner. Heidelberg Center contended that the company had doctored the photo to make it appear the sales center was its own. Wow. Wow. I'm speechless. Short sellers also say they've spoken to purported customers of Ideanomics who denied they've bought vehicles from the company. Wow. Short sellers J Capital Research says one purported customer told it that an Ideanomics announcement to that effect was fake news. Quote, fake news. Ideanomics counters that the shorts report are inaccurate, of course. They were trying to argue, you are inaccurate report, you smear us. The company says it has a 15-year rental-free agreement for the Qingdao Center, which is being rebranded under the MEG name, and preferred statement from customers to support the company's position. No regulation action has been brought against the company. So, let's say the fraud allegation involving Chinese companies that trade in the U.S. has plagued investors for years. In the early 2010, a wave of often outrageous fraud scheme at such companies cost U.S. investors billions of dollars. How the issue is back with a high-profile case like Luckin Coffee. If you remember, 瑞幸咖啡, Luckin Coffee, which admitted in April 2020 to a 310 million fraud. Okay, so then this article went on to talk about the risk of investing in China, but what they discovered, the fraud here, is really astonishing. Like when I look at that, how could a company, a NASDAQ listed company, lie like that? And then I think, oh, you know what, they can't, because really, if you look at all those Chinese companies that listed on NASDAQ or New York Exchange, there's 200 something, close to 250, 40 of them. And, they are subject to a different accounting standard, right? Because SEC right now recently has reached agreement with the Chinese government, but prior to that, there is no agreement. And I've, what, I don't want to say this, but I have a lot of friends in the accounting industry. They're public firms. They do audit for life. They told me all the Chinese books, regardless whether state-owned or medium-sized, private, the books are you cannot trust the books. They actually have 3 sets of different books to show different people. So that's how the fraud level is within the mainland China. So I mean, I'm surprising, I'm not surprising, but that tells you a lot about Ideanomics. So that's it about Ideanomics. So go back to the slide number 9. So this really tells you big about who Bruno Wu is, and he's a chairman. He's a president. He's the highest leader of that organization. He's supposed to earn money to go and earn money for the investors and maximize your profits, right? Because you trusted him. He said, trust me and invest in me, and I'm going to make you rich. And instead, he didn't make you rich. He lied and he got caught. And then in 2020, he had to step down. So 5 months after that was blown up by the media and by law firms. He's finished, so he has to step down. So that's why that led to his decision of stepping down. But he's a hustler. He's a liar, he's a hustler, and he's a CCP spy. He has to continue, fool people and lie. So very quickly, he bounced back. And this time, he said, I'm going to help you. I'm going to help people in need. And this goes to our next slides, which is slide number 10. And this news is published. I mean, I wouldn't say well published because you only can find it in one place. And March 19th, 2020. And there is an article. Let me see whether I can find it. Okay, yeah. And it's pushed out by PRN Newswire, okay, and on February 9th, 2020. And sorry, I don't know why I put it here. Oh, no. Yeah, it is March 19th, right? I was looking at another article. Sorry for the confusion for a bit. So Dr. Bruno Wu leads the Global Partnership Against Coronavirus Alliance. Okay, it's a long name, but short for GPACA, to procure medical supplies and protective medical gear for U.S. hospitals. Ooh, how nice. If you remember, if we bring, we go back 2 years, and 2020 is the year where early March, I think, that year, World Health Organization finally admitting that it's the coronavirus is transmitted human to human. And then suddenly, the Chinese government and through various organizations overseas, they start sucking up and vacuuming all the PPEs. Okay, so it's organized. They know they released the virus, and they know there's going to causing, and they withholding the information. They didn't tell. They discovered the human-to-human transmission in December, and then in January they didn't tell anybody. In January 23rd, they locked down Wuhan. But prior to the lockdown Wuhan, they sending 5 million Wuhan people on the flight and flying all over the place, and then they start vacuuming the PPE around the world. So that's their plan, okay? And they executed perfectly. But now suddenly you have a CCP register are saying, oh, I'm going to help you. I'm going to help you, and I'm going to give you, I'm going to work on the supply chain. I'm going to source those PPEs for you in that critical and pivotal moment when you need it. And this person is no other, is Wu Zhen. And in this particular news published by some 7-star communication department or whatever media relation people, it says, to ensure U.S. hospitals continue to receive necessary supplies related to COVID-19, GPACA has assembled an alliance of manufacturers. GPACA chairman Dr. Bruno Wu appointed Richard Franco, a former senior U.S. federal law enforcement official, as chief executive of the U.S. operations. Wow, it sounds like GPACA is huge and it's global again. And because Richard Franco is a chief executive of just the U.S. operation, sounds like they have a lot of more operations in other places on planet Earth. GPACA will reach out to states and hospitals via governors, congressional representatives, and state senator leaders to discuss the best channels to provide their hospitals with medical supplies. I mean, that makes you feel good. Did it? Like when I read it like the first time, I feel, wow, if I don't know Bruno Wu, if I don't know who Richard Franco, I would say, wow, it's pretty nice, good, for them to do this kind of work, right? And it's labeled themselves as a humanitarian organization. But when I know who Richard Franco is, who Bruno Wu is, I was like, oh, people is going to be, scammed again. So let's take a look of this GPAC, because I'm very puzzled, and I'm searched, digged quite a bit online, and I couldn't find any more report about GPACA, and I couldn't find any hospitals, any news saying that they're receiving something from the GPACA. GPACA, the name is, it's kind of suddenly disappeared online. There's no such organization, humanitarian organization called Global Partnership Against the Coronavirus Alliance. So I looked into by the way, their website. Yeah, on the news, there's a link to the GPACA. You can click on it and take you to the GPACA website. The link is broken and you're going nowhere. You can try for yourself. And the QR code is on the screen. And then I want to show the next slides, 11. So I'm puzzled about this, ambitious and humanitarian, kind of a good Samaritan organizations appear at a time when people are crying for PPE. When the Chinese government is deliberately, procured all of them and hoard them away in China, not giving them to anybody. But suddenly another CCP spy and say, I'm going to help you. That's really, really wrong, something wrong here. So I looked into what's Global Partnership Against Corona Alliance. Again, I didn't find much, but I did find what they say about who the founding board members are. Okay, so let's take a look who the founding board members are, because they're quite amusement when I look at those founding board members. So GPACA's founding board members include Dr. Bruno Wu. Again, doctor, I hate to calling him Dr. Bruno Wu, but anyway, chairman of Sum 7 Star Investment Group. So the next one is Jay Park, president of Suponic Group. And His Excellency Al Gahel, chairman of Asa Al Gahel. Sorry if I pronounce wrong, that's okay. It's a foreign name. And Dr. Vincenzo Costaglila, sorry, founder of president of the European Medical Association. Okay, anyway, 4 people, right? The founder board members. So I checked out one by one. Of course, Bruno Wu, we don't have to check. We already know who he is. He's a liar, he's a CPP registered, and he's an American citizen. So one day he's going to answer in the court of America for what he did to the world on behalf of his kleptocrat. And the second person is Jay Park. That's the interesting part. Because when I searched this Suponic group, I wanted KK to show you a website. It's the suponic.com. It's those flashing, like, and KK, did you find that website? I sent it to you at the end, the last one. Are you showing it? Because I can't see it, because here is it lagging. Could you talk to me? Oh, okay. Yeah, if you see that website, it's pretty nice, right? There's moving parts, people, there's Asian men talking, there's colorful things and talk about they're into the crypto markets, they're exciting, and on the left, sorry, on the top left, yes, top left, if you see the language, it has a number of language. Okay, so it appears to have a Korean, Chinese, English, and Japan. So it gives you an idea of this organization is truly international, and it's possibly more focusing Asia than any other continent. But interestingly, this website looks nice, right? And then, but if you do dig more, what is the Suponic? The name is really hard. I'm not sure it's called Suponic or a Suponic. Let's call it Suponic group. Then you will find so many things online, and there are nerds, all over the place. They're also interested in researching this company, and you will find 2 different websites. So we're going to show you one of the websites. One is the Reddit website. If KK, you can show that website. Let me just bring in that Reddit website as well. Okay, so this person is like me. He is very interested into knowing more about this Suponic. So he said, if you can scroll down as I say it, KK will be wonderful. So it's so the very first paragraph, and at the end, he's saying that I have friends in finance and stock exchange markets. I trade crypto, and no one has ever heard of this company. Okay, no one in that industry has heard of that company. And this post was posted 2 years ago, just so you know the time. That was 2020, okay? So this guy called Some Chief 86, okay, on Reddit. And he said, I don't know he or she, but let's call a he. I did a fair amount of research on my own, and we'll lay it out for you below. So Suponic Global is an offshore of Suponic, who claims to be a digital engineering firm that is trying to improve on current cryptocurrency and the technology behind them. Blah, blah, blah. He said a lot. And then he went on to say the suponic.com domain started on 2018 this day, and it was last updated on this day. And then they checked all the domain, find the contact email, but I never received a reply and only arrow message. So he tried and only had an arrow message sent back. Okay, so you can figure what kind of a contact info@suponic.com means. And then he also searched the suponicglobal.com. The same thing happened. Once again, the website has no contact information, nothing. Okay, don't know who is running this company and don't know what's going on with this company. And then he did the same thing with the SuponExchange.com. Okay, he did all. Let's move on to the end. He did a lot of information. If you're interested in reading it, you definitely can. And I'm not sure who he is or she is. I'm not related to him, so I don't know. I'm just checking, and I find a lot of scan information. People are alerting others about this Suponic.com. And near to the end, KK, if you may, near to the end, where he mentioned about this Jay Park guy. Let me just search it because I can't find it myself. Okay. So not exactly the end of it, but like a little bit, a few paragraphs above the half, it say Jay Park. It starts with Jay Park. It say the paragraph start with Jay Park, the parent billionaire founder of Suponic Global, who used to work for IBM Asia, and I have been able to prove is a real life person. There are interviews with him, but there is never any video of him. Whenever he speaks on interviews, videos, you can only hear his voice. Try searching for him, and all you get is some rap artist. And they claim that Jay Park is so rich, he had himself erased from the internet and lives a very private life. Right. So who is Jay Park? Nobody know. What does he look like? Nobody know. Okay, so here is another scam alarm. I found it on the internet. So this is the second website we can show you. KK, if you're ready. So, oh, you didn't. Sorry, you didn't have the website. I didn't give it to you. Sorry, it's my bad. But it's on the screen on the left bottom. I just did photo shoot. That was another scam alarm. Somebody find it strange, so this person put it on the website and say why join, like he mentioned about the word, it's a little bit small, I can maybe have to enlarge it to read it. It says okay, Suponic Global provides no information on the website about who owns or runs the company. In fact, I write this, Suponic Global's website is just an affiliated login form. And then he went on to check those great leadership they claimed on the website, and he cannot identify those people. Okay, none of them. So this is so much about Suponic, one of the founders of the GPACA that Bruno Wu, his Star 7 Clouds, claimed. And let's take a look at the second, His Excellency. Okay, so it sounds like royal. So let's take a look at that. So he said, another board member is His Excellency Al Gahal. I don't know who he is, but he looks like he's rich because he wear, those rich people clothes. But anyway, he's a chairman. His full name is Asa Abdullah Al Gahal. He's the founder of the SAL blah blah investment LLC. And on the website, you can go check his website. His website right listed on the investment company, and he declared all his board chair, member, affiliated member with other organizations. And this is exhausted list of he's associated with, and none of this list listed a GPACA. So I'm not sure this Mr. Gahar even know his name is on this, GPACA. Maybe he wore, I don't know, maybe it's gone, who knows, but it's pretty fishy. And then the last one, the last doctor, Vincenzo. Initially I thought, medical association, it should be a, pretty influential organization, because we all know, doctors makes a lot of money, and, the association representing them should have pretty strong influence in political or arena. So then I searched the European Medical Association, and it turns out if you go search it, you will find it yourself. The website is really not, it feels like somebody else did it in the garage. It like a simple WordPress site, and it looks old and stale and not well maintained and designed. And then and I noticed it's a volunteer organization, and it's member all over the world. And the most bizarre things is when I looked into the European Medical Association, because I used to be very familiar with medical association in North America, but I'm not too familiar with those in European. So I looked into it, but I find it strange. So on the website, they say who we are and under the board of directors. And there's a number of executive board of directors. I did confirm that this doctor, Vincento, blah, blah, is actually a real person. Because I shouldn't say it's a real person because I didn't meet him, but at least on the website there's a photo of him, and on YouTube there is a couple of video of him which has 0 likes, literally 0 likes, and only probably had 1728 views, I think. Anyway, and they're old videos, but these are executive directors of that European Medical Association. The executive board, there's 5, 6 of them, they are European citizens. But under the other board members, I find the 3 board members. It's very interesting. I mean, these are not strictly a European country, but they have board members coming from India. They have board member coming from Asia, representing Asia countries. And they have, I mean, another person, Dr. Zenzan, I don't know, I'm not there to pronounce that last name, from Kazakhstan. I mean, Kazakhstan still, like, you can argue it may be Europe, you know, kind of Central Asia, kind of Europe, but the other 2 are not, definitely not. But they're still a board member of this European Medical Association. So it's kind of a wonder what's going on. I thought their mandate is only European, but why? Why India? Why Asia? So I don't know, but this is just all a red herring, kind of a very strange, you know, an organization with a very large name, but really do nothing. The only things I can find they do is education. It's a lifelong program. It's e-education, a video, but still there's nobody, you know, viewing likes those videos. It's kind of a strange setup. The whole thing is strange. So back to the GPCA. So it makes me feel like, you know, we already said Bruno is a liar. He lied. And prior to Ideanomics, he lied to other investors in China, in Hong Kong. He also failed his prior, startup, Sun Media in Hong Kong. That was 2005. You look at his, histories, and he's a man full of history of failure, you know, but he is a man full of history, walking away with billions of dollars from a lot of people, mainly the CCP connected entities like PAG. So he has been quite successful. Right? So the next slides, okay, yeah, I just want to quickly show you the next slides. The next slides is the GPACA.com. And I've kept trying for different months and still showing the same thing. So not sure about what's happening to this organization, but in previous live stream, Miles did share that Bruno Wu has been actually under investigations by U.S. government. Okay, and I would assuming that Richard Franco would too, because these 2 are PACs. They're buddies, so, and they do a lot of damage behind the scenes, and just people just don't know. But because of Miles' case, these cronies, these bad actors, they're hiding under the shadow, is going to be exposed. And now I'm going to go turning to the case of Miles and Pac's case, and just give you a little bit refresh in terms of the timeline, because we mentioned about this last time as well. So April 18th, 2017, that's where PAX filed its initial complaint. And that day is specifically designed because that year, as I mentioned prior, there are so many organized activities by the CCP aims to discrediting and attacking Miles Guo. And June 29, 2017, Miles Guo filed a motion to dismiss on foreign non-convenience ground, to dismiss the case, dismiss the complaint, and he succeeded. July 7, 2017, PAX filed its first prejudgment order of attachment. And then September 20th, 2017, the court granted Guo's motion to dismiss and also said then the first prejudgment order of attachment, the motion filed by PAX, is a moot point because we already dismissed the case. We don't need to look at your your motion anymore. So and then April 5th, 2018, the appellate court reversed the case dismissal because PAX appealed, and PAX was successful. And then on April 24th, 2018, PAX filed its second prejudgment order of attachment. Basically, it's a revised version of the first prejudgment order of attachments. So, and then the next slides, the number two, prejudgment attachment number two. Just hold on a second. Okay, so they trying to attack Miles. They trying to undermine Miles's character and portray him as a liar, as a frauder, as someone really evil to force his employees to commit fraud in China. And also the Chinese court has confiscated all his freeze all his assets for that particular reason. And they calling Miles as a criminal, as a suspect. They mentioned about the Interpol red notice. So this is all in the judgment, prejudgment number two, and they overwhelmingly quoting the affirmation from Nathaniel Francis, which quoting completely from the CCP's propaganda to attack Miles' reputation. So this goes to our today. So today I want to just show you the judge order out of that number two prejudgment attachment. Okay, so this is Doc 192 and today's slides number 15. So Judge Ostriger ordered on June 24th, 2018, after the both parties submitted their memorandum of law and memorandum in opposition of the law. So the judge said, okay, PAX's motion denied. Okay. It's a good news, isn't it? Well, I would say it would be a good news if it did not come with the other two strings attached. But, whenever there's a but, you have to pay attention. So it says, granted discovery to PAX and also restricted disposal of the apartment, the residence, the 18th floor residence at the Sherry Netherland Hotel. So this is exactly the wording that the judge wrote, and I'm going to read it for you. It say, why PAX barely fails to meet the heavy burden for an attachment, the court believes that discovery, which may now proceed, may shed light on Geneva and or Guo's, the same person, purported fraudulent intent in purchasing and attempting to sell the residence to avoid enforcement of a judgment. So that's exactly what the judge wrote on the order. So they give a discovery to PAX, which allowed PAX, to shed a light, to dig more. There's something about this is fishy. So basically the judge say there's something of this is not, I'm not sure about it, okay? It feels like you can use more information, and maybe I granting you more time to do the discovery. You could tell me more about this fraudulent intent, because PAX trying to say that, look, the CCP say he's a criminal suspect and he has a history of committing fraud. He has a history of lying to people, okay? And he is also lied to us. And he has a fraudulent intent because he's truly a mastermind of fraud. Okay, that's what the PAX trying to say. And the judge say, okay, based on what you said, it doesn't meet the standard of the pre-judgment attachment, but you can have more time to ask him to question Iran and to see whether you can find more things. Okay, but you have to improve, you have to find an intent to avoid enforcement of the judgment. Okay, so they went on. So let's turn to the next slide. That's slide 16. So PAX, whatever PAX tactics worked, although the motion was denied, the round two, the pre-judgment attachment round two was denied, but they observed that what they planted and what their tactics actually brought them forward. right? So they didn't achieve what they completely, they didn't take the cake they want, but they at least moved in the right direction. So that makes them to think that we should continue. What we planned definitely worked and we should continue. So that's why in the pre-attachment 3, the next round, which is DOC 250, they continuing the same tactics, but they did even worse. I'm going to show you what they did. And we might not have time to show everything they did, but if we're running out of time, we will come back in the next show and continue our program. So they continue to discredit Miles and misrepresenting facts to invent the ill intent. Okay. So before we go into see what they did, I want to just give you guys a quick overview on grounds for attachment. Let's learn some law. So this is a definition I find it on justier.com website, and talking about this civil law and rule 6201. It's a grounds for attachment. So the defendant, the third bullet point, relevant to this case, it say the defendant, which in this case is Miles, was intent to defraud his creditors or frustrate the enforcement of a judgment that might be rendered in plaintiff, in this case is Pac's, favor, has assigned, disposed of, encumbered, and secreted property, or removed it from the state, or is about to do any of these acts. So the part that I highlighted in yellow are very important because these are standards that the plaintiff Pax has to reach before the judge can render the decision of granting their motion of seeking the prejudgment attachment, which is intent to defraud Pax and or frustrate the enforcement, the intent to frustrate enforcement of a judgment. Okay, so they have to prove it. And they cannot just say, oh, I think Miles has intent to do so. Therefore, they cannot do that because that's innuendo, right? That's just a circumstantial evidence. They can't do that. They have to have a direct proof and reach the level of the threshold before an order can grant it. Okay, so we learned about the law. So 2 things is fraud, the intent to fraud, and intent to frustrate or evade the enforcement of the judgment. Okay, so the next slide. The attachment, pre-judgment attached number 2, although it's like 30-some pages or 29 or 30 pages, I can't remember, but they're pretty long. But they seeking to establish their argument is the intent to fraud. But where do they start? They start right here. On the screen, it says, discovery has exposed Guo as we do not say it lightly, a serial liar. They don't call Guo Miles a liar, they call him a serial liar. In prejudgment number 2, they call him a liar, but now they call him a serial liar. Okay, let's see what kind of thing they pile up on him. And sometimes I just couldn't help laughing because we already established a relationship. It's so obvious for us, but I know a lot of Americans, a lot of people who do not know what's going on. They're thinking this is just a normal court cases. When the plaintiff and the defendant, but it's far from that. It's far from that. So on this picture, I put a PAG again, Shan Weijian. I have to remind you many times throughout the show. He's a registered CCP spy, and he is a white gloves. We introduced the glossaries, vocabulary, a couple of shows before, and he's like Wu Jin. He's registered spy, and he has even successful persona. He is venture capitalist, and he's the chairman and president of PAG, who managed $45 billion US equity assets around the globe. Okay, so, and he's a Ivy League graduated people. Okay, although he didn't finish even the primary school. I think he finished the primary school, grade 6, and then he didn't do any, junior high or senior high, and then he just directly jumped to do a bachelor degree in California. You figure how that happened. But anyway, we have to give him something. He must be smart, otherwise he can't make it to today. If you think that he's harmless, you're completely wrong. He managed 45 billion. A lot of the money are U.S. deplorables money, like me. You know, you're a U.S. citizen, they're a British citizen, and you don't invest with him because he doesn't take your money. He only takes the private equity firm that who can invest $1 billion or above. That means you and me is out of question. But your pension fund, your state pension fund, your employer pension fund, your federal pension fund is at stake. He is the guy that takes their money, and which your money is part of that money. Okay? And when the economic tsunami comes, you will all lose. And why? Because that is an unrestricted war the CCP has designed. Okay? Things popping up at the same time. Not only a pandemic, but economic, but also diplomatic, but also informatics, but also technology. War everywhere. Okay, so and that's how they manage to stay low and unnoticed. That's why people don't even know they're in a war, but they're in a war. They don't know where the bullets come from. They don't know where their enemy is, and that's how they're winning this unrestricted warfare. That's why we want to expose those darkness, that's here, that's landed in America, landed in UK, landed in everywhere in the world because of the root cause, the disaster, all world disaster caused by the communism and the CCP. That's why we want to take down them. So anyway, so he is giving money and say, who can help me doing this? And he is enlisted a number of people as potential candidates because these are O'Melveny law firms. They have engaged with the CCP for 30 years. They opened their first offices in Hong Kong, I think it was in 1994. Or it could be 1992, I can't remember. But then then continuously opened their representative offices in mainland China, Shanghai, and Beijing, and they are making billions of money every year from the CCP. Why? Because they all doing the IPOs and merger acquisitions and financial advisors, and those are truly wealthy, and you would not be able to touch those big organizations within the CCP without the agreement and without the connection, the close tie with the CCP. So out of those potential choices, that PACS picked O'Melveny. And the reason why they picked O'Melveny, I don't know, but there must be a reason. And they like particularly this guy called Edward Moss. So Edward Moss in the previous proceeding has been the counsel for PACS for 4 years until 2021. There's a conflict of interest things, which I will touch later on in the show, not today because it's 2021. We're still in 2018. So in this particular prejudgment attachment, that Eddie Moss's strategy is focusing on irrelevant issues and attacking Miles' character and integrity, and also, of course, show busyness, right, to the payer. The payer is PACS, but really is a CCP. As I said, the Shan Weijian is a white glove of the CCP kleptocrats. So they have to show progress and efforts made towards hurting Miles so they can maybe get appraisal or financial awards or whatever from the CCP. So that's his strategy. So, and I'm looking at the clock, it's already 2:04, so it's already about an hour. I'm not sure if I want to continue the detailed information in this lawsuits. We would probably end up at 2:30. It will be too long. So I'm just checking to see if okay, so maybe we can start, maybe we can do maybe 5 more minutes and then we kind of wrap up and then leave the rest of them to the next show, because this is important. This tells you the truth. Okay, and if you have not been well informed about this case, the information I'm prepared here will give you a lot of will give you aha. You will understand a lot of things, because a lot of things is coming from the deposition that Miles did and other legal cases that painted the whole picture of the truth. So I'm gonna go to slides 20. Let's do one slide and then we will come back the next show. So in the slides 20, you will see on the screen there's a guy called Michael Ehrman. Okay, so in order to create something out of nothing, one of a good strategy I notice is always engaging others, right? So if you could find people and talk to those people, you might hear some anecdote, you might hear something, right? Vignette, you might explore things, and then you might say, oh, that thing I can use against Miles, then I'm gonna call him and for deposition. That's exactly what happens. So PACS find a person, and this person is the executive vice president and CEO of Sherry Netherland Hotel, the residence that Miles Guo purchased in 2015 March. So don't get me wrong, this person has no grudge against Miles. He just basically answered questions of PACS, right? But PACS, as we know, is sluggish, especially Eddie Moss. He's very, very cunning, I would say. I would use the words cunning. And he might think he's smart, but we will see at the end who is really smart. And if you choose to work for the Communist Party, that's already mentioned, that's already speaks loudly on your intelligence and on your wisdom. Because if you're truly wise, you will not work for CCP, and they're going down to hell, the descent to hell at a lightning speed. Okay, so PACS wrote, let's not take the PAC road, let's take the right hand side. PACS asked, okay, because of the space issue, I don't have a lot of room to play with the slides, so you don't see the up and down. It's a deposition transcript. It's document 291. So if you want to go take a look at the whole documents, you definitely can. It's 29 pages. As I mentioned, these are all public documents. So documents 291 is the deposition on September 24th, 2018. That's the day that they deposed Mr. Michael Ehrman. And this is a transcript of it. So PACS asked, which Eddie Moss is the lawyer, the counsel. So the counsel asked, did you ever come to the understanding? Just ask you about your understanding that if you had to chase Mr. Guo for non-payment, the fact that he was purchasing in an LLC as opposed to in his individual capacity would make it harder for you to get to Mr. Guo's personal assets. Okay, this is a hypothetical questions, right? Because the non-payment never happened. There's no non-payment issue, but the Eddie Moss say, if there is a non-payment issue that you need to chase Guo for payment. And because the way he structured the way to purchase the hotel, would it make you harder? Would it make, the Sherry Netherland harder to get the payment from Mr. Guo in terms of his personal assets? Of course it would, because Mr. Guo purchased the Sherry Netherland using a LLC structure, which we all know it's a corporation structure, right? It's a Geneva, New York LLC. So that's why. And then the simple answer that Michael Ehrman gave is yes. Okay. So the A at the bottom on the right, it's Mr. Ehrman's honest, true answer. If the question posed to me, I would say yes too. Right? We all know that. That's why we establish a corporation for a reason, right? To protect our personal liabilities and in particular cases. So, but on their prejudgment attachment number 3, this is what PACS wrote and submitted to the court. It says, Guo proposed to purchase the residence through a double holding company structure, a New York LLC that was in turn owned by an offshore BVI entity that was unprecedented at the Sherry Netherland. Tellingly, Ehrman believed that structure, quote, would make it harder, ... to get to Mr. Guo's personal assets, quote. Okay, so you see here what the PACS is playing. First of all, it played a couple of things here. First of all, the structure is true, okay? Miles Guo did purchase the Sherry Netherland with a double holding company structure, which the U.S. LLC New York LLC purchased it, which the New York LLC was owned by the sole shareholder, which is the Geneva BVI. Okay, the reason why is in order to purchase a place in Netherlands, you have to have a U.S. It has to be a U.S. citizen or a U.S. establishment. That is why Miles Kuo has to establish the New York LLC, okay, in order to purchase it. And in the previous, testimony of the Mr. Ehrman mentioned 50% of those people purchased into the Share Netherlands has an LLC structure. So it's normal. 50%, half of the people living in the Share Netherlands actually using LLC structure to purchase it, right? But Pax is saying it was unprecedented at Share Netherlands. It wasn't correct, because it was unprecedented according to Ehrman, and Mr. Ehrman only worked in Share Netherlands for 9 years. Okay, so it could say it was unprecedented, during the 9 years of the Ehrman. But the Ehrman didn't see it. Doesn't mean it does not exist before. I don't know whether it's existed before or not. But that sentence is not completely, fully accurate. But the worst part is, Pax is putting Eddie Moss, the counsel for Pax, is putting his words in Ehrman's words. On the right-hand side, Ehrman did not say that. Ehrman just said yes to his question. It was his question, right? He chose to wordsmith, to put the hypothetical questions, to ask Ehrman, and Ehrman only said yes. But in his pre-judgment attachment, a written document submitted to the court, he basically saying that Ehrman saying that this would make it harder. If you have a double, and would much harder to get Mr. Kuo's personal assets. So this is kind of tactics they're using. I just wanted to show you, really, they asking those leading questions. They already set a trap there. And all they have to wait for people to jump in. And then they use you as a tertiary, as a third party, to convey what they want to trying to say. And they have been kept repeating themselves, that saying that Miles is a fraud. Miles have an intent to fraud. Okay, so this is one of the things they keep using in the pre-judgment attachment number 3. I'm not sure whether I say that clearly to everybody or not, but this is just the first example. And there is a lot more example that I want to show you. And then I will show you the facts about what's Geneva LLC, what's New York LLC, who runs it, who owns it, where the money comes from, who purchased the apartments. Everything that the Pax is trying to argue is basically fake news. Okay, and we will just defeat everything they say, and we will show you what the facts are. But today is already 2:13, so it's already over an hour. So you're probably bored listening to me talking and yapping here. So I'm gonna close today's show, and we will come back with facts and to answer the Pax's argument in the prejudgment attachment number 3. So thank you very much for watching, and thank you, KK, for your OBS support. And we will see everybody this week, Friday afternoon at 1 o'clock. So thank you very much. Thank you for watching. Bye-bye.
他们的恐惧是我们的武器，我们的胜利。谢谢了，兄弟姐妹们。你们健身了吗？行动，行动，行动！中共，你完了 ！Take down the CCP！
beginning, but the games you want to play. Bring it on and I will fight to the end, just watch and see. It's all started, everything's begun, and you are over, cause we're taking down the CCP. Spread the word all through Hong Kong, we will fight till they're all gone. We rejoice when there's no more, let's take down the CCP. longer.
你完了，
Let the bullets fly a little longer.
中共，你完了，干灭中国共产党这个 CCP， 还能让我们远离恐惧。Take down CCP。
They try to scare the nation with fabrication, but we see through the lies. We won't fall, we will fight you back. Police corruption with crooked assumption. They ran our lives, but no more. We will win. We will take down the CCP. Spread the word all through Hong Kong. We will fight till they're all gone. We rejoice when there's no more. Let's take down the CCP. They have all life for too long. We will end what they do wrong. Spread the word all through Hong Kong. Let's take down the CCP. Let the bullets fly a little longer, and you will surrender. Let the bullets fly a little longer. We will have freedom to live. We will win. You'll surrender. Let the bullets fly a little longer. Let the bullets fly a little longer.
站起来吧，
Let the bullets fly a little longer.
站起来吧，
Let the bullets fly a little
被
longer.
奴役的人
Let
们，
the bullets fly a little longer.
行动，
Let the bullets fly a little longer.
行动，
Let the bullets fly a little
你
longer.
完了
Let the bullets fly a little longer.
，Take down CCP。
Bullets fly a little longer, and you will surrender. Let the bullets fly a little longer. We will have freedom to live. We will win. You'll surrender. Let the bullets fly a little longer.
Take down
Let the bullets fly a little
CCP。
longer.
Take down
Let the bullets fly a little
CCP。
longer.
Take down
Let the bullets fly a little
CCP。
longer.
Take down
Let the bullets fly a little
CCP。
longer.
Take down
Let the bullets fly a little
CCP。
longer.
Take down
Let the bullets fly a little longer.
Take down
Let the bullets fly a little longer.
Take down
Let the bullets fly a little longer.
Take down the evil CCP.